Hello everyone, I'm Liv and welcome to Books and Brews, a series on my channel where I tell you about 5 books that I recently read that I would highly recommend to you all. And it's a grand old time. I get to tell you about some books that I have recently really enjoyed and you get to get some awesome book recommendations from me. So grab your preferred beverage, whether it be coffee, tea, or water, and let's get right into it. I'm actually drinking decaf coffee with a hint of pumpkin spice into it. I learned from my friend Manda that if you just put pumpkin spice into your coffee when it's really hot and stir it up real good, it makes your coffee pumpkin spiced. And it is amazing. It has changed the game for me in terms of coffee, and I will not have my coffee any other way. And now I can have pumpkin spice coffee all year round. The first book that I want to show you is the only book that I own physically, and it is The Maidens. The Maidens took me completely by surprise. I started listening to it on audiobook from Libro FM because they had a review copy, and I just knew it was a dark academia, it was a mystery and a thriller, so I decided to listen to it, and I had such a great time with it. I know the reviews for this particular author is very diverse. People either hate his writing or love his writing. I personally hated The Silent Patient, but I absolutely loved The Maidens because it was just everything I wanted and more in a dark academia novel. The Maiden follows a woman named Mariana who previously attended Cambridge University, the university that her niece now attends. And when a recent murder happens, Mariana starts to wholeheartedly believe that Edward Fosca, a professor at the university, is behind this killing. He is a part of a secret society filled with only female students called the Maidens, and Mariana is not enamored by him like everyone else. Mariana decides to take this mystery into her own hands and try and prove that Edward Fosca is the killer. If you love dark academia, if you love references towards Greek mythology, and if you love tension and murky characters who you don't know who to trust, then you would love The Maidens. I had such a great time listening to it on audiobook. I thought it felt like a movie in my mind, which is the best praise I can give to an audiobook, and I just had a great time with it. I think going into this book with low expectations or no expectations at all, like I did, is a great way to enjoy this book because I know people wanted it to be so much more than it actually was. But I had no expectations, so I really enjoyed it and I had a lot of fun with it. It was fast-paced, it was engaging, it was everything I wanted and more from a dark academia novel. So I feel like this is the perfect read for autumn time if you're looking for something quick to read, if you're looking for an audiobook to listen to. I would recommend The Maidens. I would not recommend The Silent Patient though. No. You can't see, but I'm wearing the skirt that I sewed. Hold on. Can you see it? Can you see it? Oh my god. It's adorable. It's amazing. The next novel that I read that I previously spoke about in another video of mine is Whereabouts. Whereabouts is a book that I picked up in a bookstore on a whim and really wanted to read it, but I did not want to pay for a book that I didn't know too much about, so I decided to borrow it digitally from my library. This is actually translated from Italian. The author wrote the novel in Italian and then translated it herself into English, which is amazing, and you all know that I want to read more translated fiction, so I'm so glad I was able to read this one. And this is just a very meditative, introspective type of read about a woman's life where every chapter is a different snapshot of her days. You all know I love a book without a plot. I just love reading about internal monologues, and I just love the mundanity of a protagonist's life, and that's what Whereabouts really highlights. It highlights the simple moments in one's life that makes up the bigger part of your whole entire existence. I do have to say that the ending was a bit abrupt because I was reading a chapter and I was really getting into it, and then the story ends. There was no clean wrap up to the whole entire novel, and it just kind of ended without warning, so that was something that kind of turned me off from the novel. But overall, it was a great read if you love atmospheric writing, if you love just a character moving through life and reading about their internal monologue and what they think about the people around them. And it's just a very slow moving read that you can read over a cup of coffee. It's like a perfect weekend read to dive into, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great read, and I do want to read more from this author because I love her writing style and it just really jived with me. The next book that I have to recommend to you all that I recently read is perfect for fans of The Lighthouse, and is exactly why I picked up this book, because The Lighthouse is one of my favorite movies of all time now, because I recommended it enough and I've spoken about it enough to consider it a new favorite movie of mine. I can't deny it anymore. I can't say that The Lighthouse is not one of my favorite movies when I always bring it up in a conversation. So if you love The Lighthouse, or if you love A24 in general, you would love The Lamplighters. The Lamplighters is inspired by a haunting true story, a gorgeous and atmospheric novel about the mysterious disappearance of 3 lighthouse keepers from a remote tower, miles from the Cornish coast, and about the wives who were left behind. So we follow 2 different timelines in The Lamplighters. We follow the past, where the Lamplighters are working in the lighthouse and it leads up to their disappearance, and then we follow the wives in the future as they are still coming to terms with the fact that their husbands are gone and the mystery is never going to be solved, and this one author is trying to contact them to get quotes from them, to have them talk about the disappearance of their husbands. So it's kind of rehashing old memories, and these women don't necessarily get along, but they are very connected through their past and through their husbands. So this is such a good book that I actually read because of TikTok. I saw someone recommend it as a book that was very underrated on TikTok, and I decided to pick it up because I have never heard of it before, and it was absolutely fantastic. I listened to it on audiobook, and it was immersive, it was atmospheric, and the timelines mesh so well with one another, and they seamlessly create this mystery and this story that is so well-rounded. And I loved the exploration of these 3 wives as they are grappling with the fact that their husbands are never going to be found, and they live very different lives and they have very different secrets that they hold close to their heart, but all of their stories are connected to one another. All these characters are directly affecting one another, and I just loved this story. It doesn't feel as cryptic as The Lighthouse, the film, but it still has that very restless energy that The Lighthouse had, because these 3 men are working in the lighthouse and tensions are brewing and they're not necessarily getting along, and you can just feel that something is going to happen, so that tension is constantly building in the background while we also follow these women in the future, and it is just so seamlessly blended, and I just thought it was such a fantastic read that I haven't heard a lot of people speak about. I've only ever heard it mentioned on that one TikTok that I can't find because I forgot to like it, but I'm really glad that I picked it up, and I'm really glad that I decided to just go on a whim and read this underrated read that was recommended to me by someone on TikTok, and it was an amazing book. The next book that I listened to on audiobook was The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. I am a big fan of John Green. I read most of his novels. I think I haven't read The Abundance of Catherines, and I have no interest in reading that, but I'm a big fan of John Green. I love who he is as a person. He's just very entertaining and insightful. So he has a podcast called The Anthropocene Reviewed. I've actually never listened to it before, but the synopsis of this novel told me that he took essays from that podcast, compiled it together to create this nonfiction. So every chapter is a new topic that John will highlight, and it is either scientific or focused around humanity, his childhood memories, his childhood embarrassments, and he rates them on a scale from 1 to 10. And this is just a beautiful, insightful, and hopeful nonfiction. It really sparked my hope in humanity again. It made me feel somewhat positive about our world that we live in and the different changes that we have faced. And it's also a very educational nonfiction because John Green and Hank Green are some of the smartest people that I have never met. He narrates the audiobook himself, so it feels very personal, and it feels like John Green is just telling you about his life, because not only is he talking about different parts of humanity and science, but he's also sharing different moments from his life, like his relationship with his kids, his wife, his brother, and his childhood growing up. So it was such a good nonfiction. It took me completely by surprise. I actually didn't plan on reading this book, but I saw it on Penguin Random House's audio for review, so I decided to pick it up and listen to it, and it was amazing. It was such a good read. And the last book that I want to tell you about is a dark academia, because I have been on a dark academia kick since September, and I just wanted to read all the spooky mysteries. And this dark academia, 1, I think is highly underrated, and 2, is probably one of the wildest dark academias I've read in terms of the amount of twists and turns that it takes, and it is The Lake of Dead Languages. The Lake of Dead Languages follows our main character, Jane. 20 years ago, she attended this academy where tragedy struck, and then now in the present, Jane is an adult and she is now working at this academy as a Latin teacher. So she is going through the motions of being a teacher at this academy that she previously attended when she starts to realize that someone has her journal, which was full of secrets as to why tragedy struck in the past. So she's starting to wonder who has this journal, who is blackmailing her and trying to reveal her secrets. And then when tragedy begins to strike in the present, Jane begins to realize that her past is coming back to haunt her. This novel is perfect for those who love the secret history, for those who love If We Were Villains, and for those who love gothic tales, because this is a very atmospheric novel. It is lush with its prose, but it's also full of darkness. Darkness in the characters, darkness in the actions that they commit, and darkness in the mystery in general, and how Jane is trying to figure out how her past is coming back to haunt her. In my Goodreads review, I said that this book spends its time exploring all-consuming toxic friendships, a love for Latin and classic literature, the breathlessness of first love, the darkness of one's past, and how you can put the world in someone's hands and put all your expectations into one person, and how that can make your world crash down around you. The Lake of Dead Languages is just so well written, and I'm very surprised that other people aren't talking about it, because I think that if a lot of people spent their time reading this novel, they would fall in love with the story, because it's so twisted. It's so convoluted in a way, in the way that so many things are happening at once and so many different secrets are revealed, but it is so well done at the end of the day. These are the type of characters where you just cannot trust any single person, because they all have their different secrets. They're all hiding something, and that's what I loved about it. I love novels where you don't really know which character to trust or which character is hiding something under their sleeve. So if you have any recommendations for books similar in that vein, where characters are just very murky and you don't know what they're going to do next or what they're going to say next, please leave your recommendations down below, because I loved the crap out of that in The Lake of Dead Languages. And I just want more people to read this dark academia, because it was written in like 2005, so it doesn't have a lot of traction anymore. It's very backlisted, but I think it would be such a hit on TikTok or on YouTube. I just think that more people should read this, because it's so twisted, it's so dark, and I just loved the mystery. It really kept me entertained, and it did what it had to do in terms of a dark academia, and it was just top notch. I also really enjoyed the audiobook. I'm sure if you were to read it, it would be amazing as well, because it's very gothic. If you're a fan of dark academia and if you're looking for something to read in October, it's the perfect read. I think I liked it a little bit more than the Maidens, or I think they're both on par for me. I think they're both 4-star reads, and they were just fantastic and just so entertaining and had me like this when I was listening to the audiobook. That was me the entire time. Those are 5 books that I recently read that I would highly recommend to you all. They are all actually perfect to read around autumn time, because we have dark academia novels, we have an atmospheric read, we have a novel that is perfect for fans of The Lighthouse, and then we have a wonderful nonfiction that will just spark your love for humanity and give you a lot of hope in the world. So these are all perfect reads to pick up around this time of year. So let me know if you have read any of these books. So let me know if you plan on reading any of these books. If you do, be sure to tag me on TikTok or Instagram. All my social media links will be down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, leave a pumpkin emoji down below to celebrate the autumnal season, my decor, and my mug. And I will see you very soon. Bye!